Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to consider a use case where I'm going to trigger a flow using the scripts. So we have a couple of out of the box available APIs which can be used to trigger a subflow via a script or to cancel a flow as well. So the use case would be something like I have a field on my incident form which gets set to a particular date, and when that particular date is reached, then I need to send out an email notification to the person to whom the ticket is assigned to. So let's design a flow first, and then we'll jump on to the script part to trigger the same. So first of all, I need to go to my flow designer. Here I am in the subflows tab, and I'll select new subflow. Let's say I need to trigger this on the resolution date, which is being set on the form. Let's select this as system user and click on submit. So since this is not a full-fledged flow but a subflow, I need to pass certain inputs and outputs over here. So considering the use case which I just said, the first thing which I need is the email to which I need to send an email notification. So let's say the variable name is also email, and I'll mark this as mandatory. And the second variable which I need is the date on which I need to send the notification. So let's change the type to date time, and I'll make this one as well mandatory. Now the next part is to wait for a certain duration of time, and that duration time is the date in the future. So I will select this flow logic, and the duration type I would select as relative. I need to wait 0 hours after my due date, which means immediately after my due date, I need to send this email. Based on the organizational setup that you guys might be having, you can also select a particular schedule. I don't have one, so I'll click on done for now. And then I need to send out an email. That can be done in 3 ways. First is, if I don't have those fancy emails in my organization, I can simply write the one liners over here saying that, hey, this incident is pending at your end, please take certain action. If they are out of the box, or maybe your organizational specific email notifications that you have formatted, which uses certain mail scripts in the backend, so you can use the send notification option and select the notification from the lookup. And the third option is trigger an event from this particular flow based on which a particular notification would be triggered. So any which ways can be selected. For now, I'm going to select send email. I'll simply add a one-liner. And into I need this email which is available in the inputs. Subject is, let's say, please take action on the ticket, and here anything can be added. Ticket is pending resolution. Please take necessary action. Alright, let's click on done, and I think I'm done with my flow. Let's save and publish this one. And by the way, this is the new feature in Rome release error handler. If you're expecting that an error can occur in your flow, you can simply add another logic over here so that it would be handled in the best possible manner. And while this is getting saved, let's jump onto our business rules to trigger this flow. Mhm. Yeah, this is published now. Let's click on new over here. Let's give it a name. Trigger subflow for resolution date. This is advanced and I want to trigger this before update. And now coming to my script part. Let's create a variable first to store the context ID, and then I am going to use the script. So we have out of the box available Flow API, which contains a function named start subflow. This accepts two parameters. First parameter is the name of my subflow, and the second is the inputs that we need to pass to the subflow. This is the input part which we have already configured. So now coming to the name of my subflow, I can simply copy it from here. This is the name, internal name actually. So first parameter over here is the name of the application and then the name of the subflow. Now my inputs is an object. So as you've already seen while I was designing the flow, there are two parameters that I need to pass. First one is the email. So I can easily fetch it from current.assign to. Second is the resolution due date. Resolution due date is a custom field which I have created just for this flow demo. So now I have passed the email and the due date, and I have written the script so that the flow is triggered. Now we can also add a custom field to the form which stores the value of the flow, stating that okay, this is the particular flow and it is running for the incident record, so that if we have to find it, it becomes quite easy for us. So this is the field resolution flow context, and I can simply pass the context ID. Since I'm using before update, I don't need to use current.update in this case. Okay, so I think this is pretty much it. Let's save this record. Now next step is to test this out, and I am going to navigate to incidents. Let's create a new one, and I will also open the emails from the system log in the new tab. Let's see, caller is able tutor demo subflow script. This is my resolution due date. Let me save this incident record. So by default, it is being set to a date after 3 days. So I have written my business rule for before update. So let me update this to the same date, and I'm going to change it to a time after, let's say, 1 minute, and I'll save it again. And after a minute, there should be an email in my email log stating that whatever content we wrote in the flow designer for the email. Meanwhile, let's go to the context and see if my flow has actually triggered or not. So it looks like it has not. Okay. So the possible reason for that is what are the conditions we gave. This should not be empty and this should not be empty as well. So let's assign this ticket to a user. Okay. HR admin is working on this ticket now. And I have modified the time as well to be after 5 minutes. And we'll check now whether my flow is executing or not. Looks like there is an issue which is not allowing us to start the flow. So let me add some logs in my business rule. And for this reason, it is always recommended that we include our code within try catch blocks. So we'll do that now. Okay, then here goes my catch block. Okay, so if there's an error, we'll come to know. Looks like I've already found it. So this is not global but global. Human error. So I'm going to save this and retrigger. This is the incident that I created. If I save this record now, I'm expecting that a flow should be triggered because now my script is all right. Yes. So you can see that the resolution flow context field is updated with a flow, and we can also check that particular flow in this list. Let me add a few columns over here which will let us know the origin of this particular flow, whether it is related to an XYZ table or record or not. Mm, This is actually not true. So we need to populate the source record and source table as well while we are starting the flow via a script. So let's go back. So now here what I'm going to do is I'm going to glide through the flow context table and update the source record. Ideally, I won't write this code in a business rule. I would write this in a script include and trigger the script include function over here. The name of my table is flow context. And context ID is actually the sys ID. So the field name is source underscore table, and I can get the table from get table name, and again the other field is source record. And here I can pass the current sys ID. And I'll simply call the update function then. And meanwhile we can also check whether it is still waiting or it has executed. It's waiting. And here also I can go to my subflow and click on the executions to check how many times it has been executed. Now, since I made certain changes to the script, let's go back to the incident and change the resolution date again. So I'm going to make it 21. Now I expect two subflows to be triggered and both are in executing state. See, so this part is populated correctly now. Source table is incident and the record is this one. But here's the problem. When my resolution date was changed, or whether if I change the assign to as well, either of them changes, it triggers a new flow again and the existing one is also executing. So in such cases, we need to make sure whenever a new flow is started, we are canceling the existing flow if it exists. Okay, so we'll see in a second how we can do that. So there are a couple of ways this can be done. First is I can simply go to my business tool, the existing one, and I can add if else condition. So that can be done somewhere over here before I call this function. So let's see how we can make use of that. So if gs.nil and here I'm going to pass so if it is not empty, then first this piece of code, whatever I'm going to write here, will execute. So if the flow is already complete, I don't want to do anything, let it stay complete. But if it is executing, whether it is waiting for something or maybe it is in progress, then only I need to cancel the flow. So I'll copy this piece of code. Again, in usual cases, I won't write this code in the business tool. I would be using a script include, but just for this demo to wrap up things quickly. So we can simply pick up this and pass it over here. And here I can check if the existing flow is in waiting state. Oh, it is in progress. So I can again simply use the out of the box flow API, and there's a function called cancel, which again accepts two parameters. So first is the name of the flow. Uh, And the second one is the any comment you need to pass. For example, assign to or you did changed new flow triggered, and here I'm going to pass the first parameter, which is, sorry, not the name but the sysID. So or I could also pass this current dot resolution flow context. So what else I need to do? I can, once the flow is cancelled, I can simply set it to be as empty. So let's save this. I'll create a new incident again. Event tutor, short description, then subflow, start, cancel via script. Okay. Okay, let's select and assign to. Save this incident. Nothing triggers on insert. So I'm going to update the date to the same date, and after a minute. So resolution flow context is not empty. There exists a flow. Let me refresh this list. And yes, this is the incident number 423. So matching. So it is waiting for something. And let's say if I change it to 30 instead of 29, my existing flow should be cancelled and the new one should be the only one that is currently executing. Let's refresh the list. See, the existing one is cancelled and this one is in waiting state. Let's wait for a minute for the notification to be triggered. While we are waiting, so the assigned to user is Guillermo Foliage. And if I go to the emails, so I have an email triggered, and I can also verify the content by clicking on preview email. So flow works perfectly fine. Now let's verify one more thing. So this is in complete state now, and if I make any changes over here, the previous one should not be cancelled. Let's save it. And this is my flow context. Refresh the list. So there is a new one for this particular record, but the existing one, since it was already complete, it is not cancelled. So this is pretty much it, and this is how we can trigger a subflow via scripts or cancel it. This was just one such use case, but there are multiple other use cases that can be followed, and it's well everywhere. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.